The Eyes in the Darkness, by Elton Gar. Aaron hadn't known he was planning to run until he was sprinting through the forest, but as soon as he ran, he felt the fear and pain recede. As the sentry, he was leaving his friends alone with no one guarding them, and he should feel guilty for that. He might never know if they survived the night, and he would probably never forgive himself for that. But standing alone in the dark forest, watching for enemy soldiers while listening to the sound of the woods, knowing every rustle of a branch could be someone trying to kill him, had overwhelmed him. As he ran, the terror he had felt almost constantly for the last few months began to fade away. There would be no one shooting at him. There was no one to order him to attack a hill full of enemy soldiers. There was only the long shadow created by a nearly full moon, and the sound of a warm, moist breeze blowing through the trees. He ran for nearly an hour as the last hints of daylight faded away, but as he became more lost in the woods, he slowed to a walk. The last thing he wanted to do was get turned around and walk into the enemy, but he didn't stop walking. He wouldn't stop until he was in a safe, warm bed, hundreds of miles away from the nearest battlefield. Then he heard the snap of a branch. Had someone from his unit followed him? No. A friend would have called out, and the enemy shouldn't be anywhere near here. Probably an animal he had surprised as he walked through the forest. But he still checked the pistol on his belt. He should have brought his rifle. But if he had taken the weapon into the woods, someone would have asked questions. He continued for several minutes with his hand on his gun. Trying to calm himself, he decided it was just his raw nerves. He had been on edge for so long it would take time before he was calm again. Then he heard something else. Branches rubbing against cloth or fur, and he spun around. In the darkness, he glimpsed something out of the corner of his eye. 20 feet away or less. Two yellow eyes like a cat's searching the darkness, but at the height of a man's eyes. Aaron was running before he had time to consider how bad of an idea running was. It wasn't the calm jogging of soldiers that could be kept up for hours. It was a mad sprint. Branches slapped at his face and things grabbed at his clothing as he ignored the paths and the terror. He found his gun in his hand and he turned and shot twice wildly into the woods. He wouldn't hit anything, but the noise and the threat of being shot should scare away whatever was following him. He knew it wouldn't work. The terror of those eyes was beyond anything imaginable. He even considered turning and running back towards the battle. Even the enemy might be better than this thing, but he had gone too far and turning back would make it easier for it to catch him. All he could do was run, too afraid to even look back for those strange eyes again. He rushed forward for what seemed like hours. Each time he began to slow from exhaustion, he heard another sound. The twisting of a plant underfoot, the scraping of a fingernail along a tree branch, or the breaking of branches, and they would force him to run again. There were other things as well. A twisted hand among the tree branches reaching out to grab him. Sharp fang-like teeth showing between leaves. He sprinted until he was so exhausted that he collapsed to the ground, unable to go any farther. He couldn't stand, but he tightly gripped the gun, firing into the darkness each time he heard a sound or caught a glimpse of the creature. He counted the bullets as he fired, 5, 4, 3, 2. Then as he reached his last bullet, the first rays of the sun broke through the trees, and he knew he was safe. But even the sun couldn't dispel the terror for long, and Aaron understood that the night would return, bringing his relentless enemy with it. The thing in the darkness had his scent, and wouldn't cease its pursuit until he was dead. It would pursue him until he was too exhausted to continue running. He stumbled through the woods until he found a path. With great effort, he struggled along the path until he discovered a small group of soldiers. Collapsing onto the ground in front of them, he was too drained to even care if they were friends or enemies, as he incoherently babbled about the eyes in the darkness. Author's note: this story is about trying to capture an emotion as much as telling a story. That is why it doesn't really matter if there really is something hunting Aaron, or if he just saw the moon through the branches. The terror is real, and it is enough. That ability to focus on one small piece of a story is my favorite thing about flash fiction, and I hope that you find it satisfying. If you did, you can find more audio short stories at www.youtube.com/@ansci-fi. Or you can sign up for my newsletter at www.ansci-fi.com. Just look for the link that says free book. Thank you. Elton Gar.